It's the 6th of April, Monday. And joy of joys. I could hardly contain myself. This article appeared in the paper yesterday, Sunday paper. Forces told to stop using roadblocks. Police have been forced to stop operating lockdown roadblocks following warnings that officers were overstepping their powers. Surprise, surprise. But police chiefs quietly stopped operating the checks last week after being told that such draconian measures are permitted only when pursuing the most serious criminals. This refers to North Yorkshire Police, which is my area. The force even called in the Royal Military Police. Well, they must have known that they were on dodgy ground. Well, they must have overridden advice which they were given. I can't imagine that the police's lawyers weren't aware that they were exceeding their powers. This article had appeared days earlier when this was first suggested. This was the 28th of March. And it says there, lawyers warned that the regulations were confusing and that police were unlawfully trying to restrict people travelling to isolated spots to exercise. And a leading barrister, Matthew Ryder, argued, they have no power to stop someone driving to an isolated scenic spot to exercise away from others, nor is there any logical reason why there should be. So who decided to exceed the powers? Was it the chief constables? Well, I suspect they didn't do this on their own. Obviously, the senior officers in the force decided this. And in North Yorkshire, this was pursued with zeal, led by the Assistant Chief Constable, who was quoted in the local press and mentioned in an earlier video. One of the quotes in a newspaper from the Assistant Chief Constable. So we ask people to understand the meaning of essential, which is somewhat ironic. A reasonable person might argue that it's essential that an Assistant Chief Constable knows when the police force is exceeding its powers. And where were the police commissioners in all this, when all this was going on? Well, our police commissioner is Julia Mulligan, and as far as I can see, not a sniff. Nothing was said about it. She should have been bullying them. I mean, these people are on big money. I'll put a list on in a minute. So these are the people on 58,200 plus. Why the 200, I've no idea. The Chief Executive Officer, he's on 90,000, but his salary is shared with Cleveland Police Force. As it says, collaboration agreement. These are pretty eye-watering sums of these. 4 there on 110,000 plus, as near as makes no odds. Big money. How did they get this so wrong, this lockdown business? I mean, how did they get it so wrong? Why didn't they know that they were exceeding their powers before they made this decision? I don't suppose we'll ever get to know the answer. But it's very disappointing. It's even more disappointing because of this coronavirus business. The local elections, when the police commissioners' offices were up for grabs, they've been put back a year. Well, for the elderly, it's absolutely wonderful news. I can't tell you just how I feel. I assume others feel the same. Feelings bordering on ecstasy. Many elderly people and people who live on their own exercise like running, jogging, is not their scene. What they want to do is just to drive somewhere, find somewhere to sit with a lovely view, whether it's overlooking the sea or overlooking the countryside in some woodland somewhere. It doesn't matter. They don't want to get out of the car. They're quite happy just to sit in the car, some sandwiches, flask of tea, and now they can do it without fear of being stopped by the police and finding themselves with a fine, which was very unnerving, I have to say. And of course it will boost their morale 1,000-fold. So that this lockdown, if it has to continue, will not seem anywhere near as oppressive. It's changed my mood completely from pessimism to optimism. But more could be done. You know, on a nice sunny day like today, people want to be in their gardens, but of course there's nothing to do really, because garden centres are closed. Well, huge numbers of elderly people, sensible elderly people, went to garden centres, wide open spaces outside, get their bedding plants, buy their seeds, buy their seed potatoes or whatever, summer bulb flowers, you know. But of course they're not allowed to do that. I mean, many just went for a wander out and just to look at the plants, look at the flowers and smell the scents, and that's not allowed. And I just don't fully understand it, because that again would be a huge morale booster. I mean, after all, 90% of people who've died in this blooming epidemic have been elderly people, have been old people. Now, to come back to the police force, obviously there are people who are going to abuse this. People are going to go out in groups for picnics, gatherings, whatever. This is their opportunity to show their mettle and deal with them. Because if they don't, harsher measures are going to be brought in. So if there are policemen watching, come down on these groups with an iron fist, so that people like me and others, other elderly people, can enjoy the benefits that this new wasn't exactly a change, under this new sensible approach to the regulations. Anyway, in celebration, I'm going to make a cake. I've made a cake for years. Carrot cake or coffee cake. Well, I'm not sure. Probably a carrot cake. I've got a recipe. I mean, it must be easy to make a cake. I've got a recipe, so I'll go through that while I'm doing it, and hopefully it'll turn out all right. If it doesn't, I'll bin it and scrap the video. I'm so over the moon about this change. At last, reason prevails.